The salty ocean breeze whipped through Velma's hair as the Mystery Machine's tires crunched against the gravel parking lot overlooking the harbor. The smell of fish and diesel fuel mixed in the air, creating that distinct coastal aroma that meant adventure was near. In the distance, shrouded in an eerie morning fog, sat Fortuna Island, a place that had been abandoned for 30 years after a mysterious economic collapse bankrupted its entire population overnight. Like, why are we going to a creepy abandoned island again? Shaggy asked, his voice trembling as he clutched the half-eaten submarine sandwich worth at least $20, his entire weekly snack budget blown in one sitting. Because Velma adjusted her glasses with scientific precision. 3 separate cryptocurrency investors have reported seeing a glowing phantom on that island, and each one claimed the phantom whispered stock tips that made them lose thousands of dollars. It's the perfect case study in financial fraud meets supernatural mystery. Scooby-Doo whimpered, his ears drooping. Ransom? Rono. Daphne studied her tablet, scrolling through financial news articles. According to these reports, Fortuna Island was once a thriving investment hub. The wealthiest traders in the world lived there until something called the Great Fortuna Crash wiped out everyone's savings in a single night. Some say it was a Ponzi scheme. Others say it was cursed. Fred steered the Mystery Machine onto the ferry dock, his jaw set with determination. Well, gang, if there's a phantom scaring investors and stealing their money, we're going to catch it. And maybe learn what really happened to Fortuna Island 30 years ago. As the ferry horn blasted through the fog, announcing their departure, a strange golden glow pulsed from the island's highest peak, the old Fortuna Financial Tower. The light seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, beckoning them forward. Velma noticed something odd. The glow appeared at exact 15-minute intervals, as regular as stock market trading bells. Interesting, Velma muttered, noting the pattern in her journal. Whatever's happening on that island follows a schedule. Ghosts don't usually work 9 to 5. The mystery had begun, and with it, lessons about money, greed, and the real treasure that comes from smart financial planning rather than get-rich-quick schemes. The ferry's engine sputtered and died as it approached the decrepit Fortuna Island dock. Wooden planks, weathered by decades of salt and neglect, creaked ominously under the weight of the Mystery Machine as Fred carefully drove off the boat. The entire island had an unsettling silence. No birds, no insects, just the constant whisper of wind through abandoned buildings. Zoinks! Shaggy's voice echoed across the empty harbor. Like, this place gives me the creeps, Scoob. Rhea, reaps. Scooby agreed, pressing close to Shaggy's legs. The gang stepped out of the van, and immediately the atmosphere pressed down on them. Velma pulled out her tablet, which displayed a map of the island from its heyday in the 1990s. According to historical records, Fortuna Island had a population of 5,000 people, all wealthy investors, stockbrokers, and financial advisors. At its peak, the island's GDP was higher than some small countries. Daphne gazed at the rows of mansions lining the hillside, their windows dark and broken, gardens overgrown with wild vegetation. What happened to all these people? Did they all just leave? They had to, Velma explained, walking toward what appeared to be the main street. When the Great Fortuna Crash happened, every single person lost everything. Their investments, their savings, their retirement funds all gone in one night. Most people left with just the clothes on their backs. Fred examined the faded billboard that read, Fortuna Island, where dreams become dividends. Half of it had fallen off, leaving just dreams become dead. Guys, check this out, Fred called, pointing to a smaller sign beneath it. Fortuna Financial Tower Investment Seminars every Thursday. Learn how to double your money in 30 days. Velma's eyes narrowed behind her glasses. Double your money in 30 days? That's a classic red flag for a financial scam. Any investment promising returns that high is almost certainly fraudulent. Real wealth building takes time, patience, and diversification. Shaggy scratched his head. Like, what's diversify, whatever you said? Diversification means not putting all your eggs in one basket, Velma explained patiently. If you invest all your money in one place and it fails, you lose everything. But if you spread your investments across different areas, stocks, bonds, savings accounts, real estate, then if one fails, you still have others to rely on, like having multiple places to hide snacks. Shaggy's eyes lit up with understanding. Exactly like that, Shaggy, Daphne smiled. As they walked deeper into the abandoned town, they passed a bank with its vault door hanging open, papers scattered everywhere. Velma picked up one of the documents, a loan agreement with an interest rate of 40%. This is predatory lending, Velma said darkly. These people were being charged enormous interest rates on their loans. Even if they made money on investments, they'd owe so much in interest that they'd never get ahead. Scooby sniffed around a nearby cafe. Its tables still set as if customers had vanished mid-meal. He pawed at something under a table, a leather briefcase, surprisingly well-preserved. Good boy, Scooby. Fred opened the briefcase carefully. Inside were dozens of investment portfolios, all marked with the same logo, a golden spiral with the words, Infinite Returns Investment Group. Velma's face went pale as she examined the documents. Gang, these are all the same investment scheme. Every single person on this island invested in the same company, Infinite Returns. They all put their money in one place. They didn't diversify, Daphne realized. Exactly. And when Infinite Returns collapsed, it took everyone's money with it. Suddenly, a bone-chilling laugh echoed across the empty streets. The gang spun around to see a glowing figure materializing on top of the bank building, a phantom draped in tattered business clothes, its eyes glowing gold, clutching what appeared to be stock certificates that burned with ethereal fire. "Leave this island," the phantom's voice boomed. "The secrets of Fortuna must remain buried. Those who seek wealth here will lose everything, just as we did." The phantom raised its arms, and suddenly the golden glow from Fortuna Financial Tower intensified, bathing the entire street in eerie light. Papers began swirling around the gang like a financial tornado. "Run!" Fred shouted. The gang sprinted back toward the mystery machine, but Velma paused, looking back at the phantom. Even in her fear, her analytical mind was working. The phantom's appearance had been too precise, too theatrical. And that voice, there was something familiar about it, something recorded, artificial. As they reached the van, Velma turned to the group, breathless but excited. "Gang, I don't think that phantom is supernatural at all. I think someone is using this island's tragic history to scare people away. But why? What could still be valuable on an island where everyone lost everything?" Fred started the engine. "I don't know, Velma, but we're going to find out. First, we need to set up base camp and plan our investigation." As they drove toward a relatively intact hotel on the island's north side, none of them noticed the security camera hidden in the bank's broken window, its red recording light blinking steadily, watching their every move. The Fortuna Grand Hotel stood like a monument to past excess marble columns, a grand fountain now dry and filled with dead leaves, and a chandelier hanging precariously in the main lobby. The gang cautiously entered, their footsteps echoing through the vast empty space. "Well, it's not the Ritz, but it'll do for base camp," Fred said, setting down his trap-building equipment. Daphne wiped dust off an ornate mirror. "This place must have been beautiful once. Look at the detail in these carvings, gold leaf, imported marble. Someone spent serious money building this, and someone lost serious money when it all crashed," Velma added, already setting up her laptop on what used to be the concierge desk. She plugged in a portable Wi-Fi hotspot and began researching. "I'm digging into the history of Infinite Returns Investment Group. There has to be something in the public records." Shaggy and Scooby, meanwhile, had discovered the hotel kitchen. "Like Scoob, check it out. The freezers still work." Shaggy pulled open an industrial refrigerator to find it stocked with canned goods and preserved foods. Rand roots. Scooby's tail wagged. "Shaggy, you can't just eat that." Daphne called from the lobby. "It's been here for 30 years. Like, canned food lasts forever, Daph. And we spent all our food money on ferry tickets." Shaggy countered, examining a can of beans. "Besides, this is basically emergency preparedness. You know, having a financial cushion for unexpected situations." Velma looked up from her computer, impressed despite herself. "Actually, Shaggy, that's not a bad analogy. Having an emergency fund, usually 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up, is one of the most important financial strategies. It means when unexpected costs come up, you don't have to go into debt or make desperate decisions. See?" Shaggy grinned. "I'm financially responsible." "You spent your entire weekly budget on one sandwich this morning," Fred reminded him. That was the old Shaggy. The new Shaggy is all about restraint. He immediately opened the can of beans and began eating them cold with a spoon. Fred spread out a map of the island on a dusty coffee table. "Okay, gang, let's think strategically. We have several locations to investigate. Fortuna Financial Tower, where the Phantom appeared. The bank where we found those documents, the residential areas, and whatever else might be here. Don't forget the island's data center," Velma interjected, pointing to her screen. According to these records, Fortuna Island had a massive server facility that handled all the investment trading. It would have been the technological heart of the island. Daphne leaned over to look. If someone's controlling that Phantom, they might be operating from there. It's the kind of place that would have power generators, security systems, everything you'd need to stay hidden. Jinkies. Velma suddenly exclaimed, her eyes wide behind her glasses. "Gang, I found something. Infinite Returns Investment Group wasn't just a scam, it was a Ponzi scheme. The company wasn't actually investing anyone's money. They were just using new investors' money to pay returns to earlier investors." "What's a Ponzi scheme?" Scooby asked, tilting his head. Velma turned her laptop screen to show a diagram. "Imagine if I told you to give me 10 Scooby snacks, and I promised I'd give you back 20 Scooby snacks in a month. You'd think I was investing your snacks wisely, right? But instead of actually doing anything with your 10 snacks, I just wait for Shaggy to give me 10 snacks, and then I give you Shaggy's snacks and tell you it's your profit." "Like, that's not cool, Velma," Shaggy protested. "Exactly. It's fraud. And it only works as long as new people keep joining. Once new investors stop coming in, the whole scheme collapses because there's no real money being made. It's just being shuffled around. And that's exactly what happened to Infinite Returns. When people stopped investing, everything fell apart, and everyone discovered their money was gone." Fred stroked his chin thoughtfully. "So whoever's behind this Phantom might be connected to Infinite Returns. Maybe someone who ran the scheme and is trying to keep people away from evidence. Or," Daphne suggested, "maybe someone who lost everything and wants revenge?" A loud crash from upstairs made everyone jump. Scooby leaped into Shaggy's arms, both trembling. "Rat, rat?" Scooby whimpered. Fred grabbed a flashlight. Only one way to find out. "Come on, gang." They climbed the grand staircase, each step creaking under their weight. The second floor was a hallway of luxury suites, their doors hanging open like dark mouths. The crash had come from the presidential suite at the end of the hall. As they approached, they could see papers scattered everywhere, as if someone had been frantically searching through files. In the center of the room sat a massive safe, its door hanging open, completely empty. "Someone's been here recently," Fred observed, kneeling to examine fresh footprints in the dust. "These prints are only a few hours old." Velma picked up one of the papers. "These are all stock certificates for Infinite Returns, but they're worthless now that the company collapsed." "Why would someone be searching for these?" Daphne found something else, a modern smartphone charger plugged into a wall socket. "Guys, this charger is brand new. Whoever's here isn't a ghost. They're very much alive and using current technology. Jinkies. That means Velma didn't finish her sentence because at that moment, the lights throughout the hotel suddenly blazed to life, temporarily blinding them. Then, just as quickly, they shut off, plunging them into darkness except for their flashlights. When their vision adjusted, they saw it. Written on the mirror in glowing golden paint were the words, "Greed destroyed this island. Leave before I to destroys you." Okay, that's definitely not friendly. Shaggy squeaked. Scooby whimpered in agreement. Rot Reendley. Velma photographed the message with her phone. The paint is still wet. Whoever wrote this was here less than 5 minutes ago. They might still be in the building. Fred's leadership instincts kicked in. Okay, gang, we need to split up and search the hotel. Velma and I will check the basement and see if we can find the power source. Daphne, you investigate the upper floors for any more clues. And Shaggy and Scooby. Let me guess, Shaggy interrupted. We get to check the creepy dark places where the monster always is? Actually, I was going to say you two should guard the lobby and watch for anyone trying to leave. If you see anything suspicious, yell. Oh, like that we can do, right, Scoob? Randu-rad. Scooby nodded enthusiastically, much more confident about a stationary guard duty assignment. As the group split up, Velma called out one more piece of advice. Everyone, remember whoever's doing this wants us scared. They want us to make panicked decisions, just like the investors on this island did 30 years ago. When people panic, they make bad choices. We need to stay calm, think critically, and follow the evidence. The investigation had truly begun, and with it, the first real test of their courage and their financial wisdom. Velma and Fred descended the hotel's basement stairs, their flashlights cutting through the darkness like swords through fog. The air grew cooler and damper with each step, carrying the metallic scent of old machinery and stagnant water. Watch your step, Fred warned as they reached the bottom. This place has been abandoned for 3 decades. There could be structural damage. The basement was a labyrinth of storage rooms, maintenance areas, and utility corridors. Fred pulled out the map he'd been carrying. According to this, the hotel's backup generator should be through here. If we can get it running, we'll have reliable power. As they walked, Velma's scientific mind continued working on the mystery. Fred, I've been thinking about the economics of this situation. Someone is going to great lengths to scare people away from this island. That means there's something valuable here that they don't want discovered. But you said everyone lost their money in the crash. What could be valuable on a bankrupt island? That's what we need to figure out. In economics, we call this opportunity cost. What is our phantom willing to give up or risk to protect whatever secret this island holds? They're risking exposure, capture, and legal consequences. Whatever they're protecting must be worth more than that risk. They found the generator room, and Fred immediately began examining the machinery. This is an industrial-grade diesel generator. With some fuel and basic maintenance, I could probably get it running. While Fred worked, Velma explored deeper into the basement. Her flashlight caught something unexpected, a modern fiber-optic cable running along the ceiling, completely out of place among the decades-old infrastructure. Fred, come look at this. Fred joined her, wiping grease from his hands. That cable is new, maybe 10 years old at most. Someone's been maintaining technology on this island, and look where it leads. Velma followed, the cable down a corridor that didn't appear on any of the hotel maps. At the end was a heavy security door with a modern keypad lock. Jinkies, Velma breathed. This must connect to the data center. Someone's kept it operational all these years. Fred examined the keypad. I might be able to bypass this, but it'll take time. We should get the others, and the sound of footsteps echoed from somewhere above them. Then Daphne's voice, urgent and frightened. Fred! Velma! Get up here! Now! They raced back upstairs to find Daphne in the lobby, pale and shaken. She held a leather journal, its pages yellowed with age. "I found this in one of the penthouse suites," she said, her voice trembling. "You need to read it." Velma took the journal and began reading aloud. March 15th, 1995. "Today I realized the truth about infinite returns. It's all a lie. There are no investments. Victor Goldsworth has been running a Ponzi scheme this entire time. I confronted him and he laughed. He said everyone on this island is complicit. We all knew, deep down, that the returns were too good to be true. But we were all too greedy to ask questions. Now it's too late. The scheme is collapsing, and we're all going to lose everything." "Who wrote that?" Fred asked. Daphne pointed to the name embossed on the journal's cover. "Dr. Margaret Chun, chief economist of Fortuna Island." "Keep reading," Daphne urged. Velma flipped through more pages. March 20th, 1995. "It's over. The crash happened today. Victor Goldsworth has disappeared with the real money, over $2 billion. He left behind worthless paper and broken dreams. The island is being evacuated. People are fighting over scraps. Some are talking about suicide. I'm leaving tomorrow, but I'm hiding this journal and copies of all the financial records in the data center. Someday, someone needs to know the truth. Someday, Victor Goldsworth needs to pay for what he did." The gang stood in stunned silence. Finally, Velma spoke. So Victor Goldsworth was the mastermind. He stole $2 billion and vanished. But if Dr. Chun hid evidence in the data center, and someone's keeping that data center operational ... then maybe Victor Goldsworth never left. Fred finished. "Maybe he's been here all along, guarding his secret." Or, Daphne added, maybe someone else found out about the evidence and is trying to keep it hidden. Meanwhile, in the hotel kitchen, Shaggy and Scooby were discovering their own clues, though not intentionally. Shaggy had found a working refrigerator that was significantly more modern than the others. "Like Scoob, check this out. Fresh food. Inside were groceries that couldn't have been more than a week old. Nobody arrives here," Scooby realized. But who would want to live on this creepy island? Shaggy picked up a receipt that had fallen behind the milk. "And they're getting groceries delivered from the mainland every week. That's expensive, Scoob. Whoever's here is spending serious money to stay hidden." Scooby found something else. A prescription medication bottle with a name on it. V. Goldsworth. Zoinks! Shaggy grabbed the bottle. "We gotta show this to Velma." But before they could move, the kitchen lights flickered and died. In the darkness, they heard that bone-chilling laugh again, closer this time, right outside the kitchen door. The greedy never learn. The Phantom's voice boomed. "You should have left when you had the chance." The kitchen door slammed shut, and they heard the sound of a deadbolt sliding into place. They were trapped. "Help!" Shaggy screamed. "The Phantom's got us locked in here." Fred, Velma, and Daphne rushed to the kitchen, but the door wouldn't budge. Through the small window, they could see Shaggy and Scooby frantically trying to open it from the inside. "Stand back." Fred rammed his shoulder against the door, but it was solid oak and wouldn't give. Velma examined the lock. "This is a modern deadbolt installed recently. Our Phantom is very real and very prepared. But why trap them?" Daphne wondered. If they wanted to hurt Shaggy and Scooby, there are easier ways. They don't want to hurt them, Velma realized. They want to keep them away from something. "Fred, that security door in the basement. We need to get through it now. I think whatever's in that data center is the key to everything." As Fred worked on the kitchen door lock, Velma made a decision. "Daphne, you stay here and help Fred. I'm going back to that data center." "Velma, you can't go alone." "Someone has to. And I think I know what the password might be." Velma held up Dr. Chun's journal. This woman was brilliant. If she wanted to protect evidence but make it accessible to investigators, she'd use something meaningful, but not obvious. Inside the kitchen, Shaggy and Scooby huddled together, the prescription bottle clutched in Shaggy's shaking hand. Then Shaggy noticed something: a dumbwaiter, an old food elevator used to send meals to upper floors. Like Scoob. We can escape through there. But the dumbwaiter was small, very small. They'd have to squeeze through, and it opened into darkness above. As they debated their options, they heard scratching sounds coming from the walls. Something or someone was moving through the building's hidden passages, getting closer and closer to the kitchen. The gang was now separated, trapped, and running out of time. The mystery was deepening, but so was the danger. And somewhere in the shadows, the Phantom watched, waiting to make its next move. Fred finally picked the kitchen lock, and Shaggy and Scooby burst out, breathless and terrified. Like Fred, you're never gonna believe what we found. Shaggy thrust the prescription bottle into Fred's hand. The Phantom is Victor Goldsworth. He's been here all along. Fred examined the bottle, his expression grim. This is medication for a heart condition, prescribed 6 months ago. Velma was right. Someone's been living on this island. Where's Velma? Daphne asked, looking around. She went to the data center alone, Fred admitted. We need to find her fast. Deep in the basement, Velma stood before the security keypad, Dr. Chun's journal open in her hands. She'd tried several combinations, dates from the crash, financial terms, economic formulas. Nothing worked. Then she saw it, a passage in the journal that read, "The only wealth that truly matters: knowledge, integrity, and time. Remember, K.I." Velma smiled. Dr. Chun, you brilliant woman. She typed into the keypad, K.I. followed by the date of the crash, March 20th, 95. The lock clicked open. The data center was nothing like Velma expected. Instead of a dusty abandoned room, she found a fully operational facility with servers humming, lights blinking, and multiple monitors displaying complex financial data. At the center of it all sat a figure in a chair, back turned to the door. I wondered when someone would finally figure it out, a woman's voice said. The chair spun around, revealing not Victor Goldsworth, but an elderly woman with sharp eyes behind thick glasses. Hello, Velma. Yes, I know your name. I've been watching you since you arrived. Dr. Margaret Chun, Velma breathed. You didn't leave. You've been here all along. Very good. You're as smart as I'd hoped. Dr. Chun gestured to the monitors. For 30 years, I've been tracking every penny of Victor Goldsworth's stolen money. He didn't just vanish. He created an elaborate network of offshore accounts, shell companies, and fake identities. He's been living like a king while the people of Fortuna Island lost everything. So the Phantom is my security system, Dr. Chun confirmed. Projectors, speakers, motion sensors. I needed to keep treasure hunters and looters away while I completed my work. But lately, someone else has been coming to the island. Someone who knows about the hidden money. Victor Goldsworth? His son, Victor Jr. He's trying to access his father's fortune, but he doesn't know I've been documenting everything. I have evidence that can recover almost all of the stolen money and return it to the victims. Dr. Chun pulled up a screen showing complex financial transactions. See this? It's a complete audit trail showing where every dollar went. Velma studied the screen, her economist's heart racing. Dr. Chun, this is incredible work. But why the Phantom? Why scare us away? Because I didn't know if you were working for Victor Jr. I couldn't risk 30 years of work being destroyed. Dr. Chen's expression softened. But I've been watching you. The way you explained economics to your friends, your integrity, your careful analysis. You reminded me of myself at your age. We need to tell the others. And we need to catch Victor Jr., Dr. Chen nodded. I have a plan. There's a vault in Fortuna Financial Tower, the only place Victor Sr.'s original financial records are stored. Victor Jr. thinks his father hid the access codes there. He's planning to break into the tower tonight. If we can catch him there and get his confession, we can end this. Meanwhile, Fred had assembled the gang in the hotel lobby. Using the building's layout and Dr. Chun's documented movements, they'd figured out the Phantom's patterns. Okay, gang, here's the plan. Fred spread out blueprints of Fortuna Financial Tower. The Phantom, or whoever's controlling it, will appear at the tower tonight. We'll set up a trap on the main trading floor. Daphne, you'll rig the lighting system to blind the Phantom when I give the signal. Shaggy and Scooby, you'll be the bait. Like, why is it always us? Shaggy groaned. Because you're excellent at looking scared and running in panic, Daphne said with an affectionate smile. It's actually a valuable skill for this plan. Rhea, very valuable. Scooby nodded, not entirely convinced. Fred continued. The key is timing. We need to lure them into the center of the trading floor where the old vault is located. I've rigged a net system in the ceiling using old cable wires. When they're in position, we'll drop the net and trap them. But Fred, Daphne pointed out, we don't know what this person wants. What if they're not after treasure? What if they're just trying to scare us away? Then we need to give them something they can't resist, Fred said mysteriously. And I think I know exactly what that is. At that moment, Velma returned with Dr. Chun. The gang stared in amazement at the elderly economist. Gang, meet Dr. Margaret Chun. She's been the Phantom all along, but she's not the villain. Velma quickly explained everything she'd learned. Dr. Chun looked at each of them seriously. Your friend is right to want to catch Victor Jr., but we need to be smart about this. He's dangerous, desperate, and he knows this island better than you do. That's why we're going to use the one thing he wants most, Fred explained. Dr. Chun, you said Victor Jr. is looking for his father's access codes. What if we let him think we found them? Dr. Chun's eyes widened with understanding. A fake treasure. We make him reveal himself by offering him exactly what he's searching for. But how do we make it believable? Daphne asked. Velma adjusted her glasses, a plan forming in her mind. We use economics. The one thing Victor Jr. knows is that his father was greedy and careful. He wouldn't have hidden the codes somewhere obvious. He would have protected them with layers of security, puzzles based on financial knowledge. Like a treasure map, Shaggy said, but with math instead of X marks the spot. Exactly. And that's why it will work. We'll create a fake puzzle that only someone with financial expertise could solve or think they could solve. Victor Jr. won't be able to resist. The gang spent the next hour preparing. Dr. Chun created fake financial documents that looked 30 years old. Velma designed a puzzle using real economic formulas, but with one crucial flaw that would trap whoever tried to solve it. Fred and Daphne set up the physical trap in Fortuna Financial Tower, and Shaggy and Scooby, well, they practiced looking scared, which came naturally. As darkness fell over the island, they put their plan into motion. They accidentally left the fake documents where Victor Jr. would find them on the reception desk of the hotel with a flashlight conveniently pointed at them. Within an hour, they heard it. Footsteps in the hotel, someone moving quickly toward the documents. He took the bait, Dr. Chun whispered, watching on her security monitors. He's heading to the tower now. The gang raced to Fortuna Financial Tower, a massive glass and steel structure that had once been the economic heart of the island. Inside, the main trading floor was a vast open space with dozens of computer terminals, all frozen in time from 30 years ago. The old vault sat in the center, its massive door still bearing the Infinite Returns logo. They took their positions. Shaggy and Scooby hid behind trading desks. Velma and Dr. Chun monitored from a security office. Fred and Daphne waited in the shadows, ready to spring the trap. Then they heard it, the building's front door opening, footsteps echoing across marble floors, and a voice muttering to itself, "Finally, after all these years, I'll get what's rightfully mine. Father's fortune will be mine." A figure entered the trading floor, a man in his 50s, dressed in expensive clothes, but looking haggard and desperate. He moved directly to the vault, examining the fake documents by flashlight. "Victor Jr." Dr. Chen's voice boomed through the building's PA system, making him jump. "Did you really think you could steal what your father stole? Who's there?" Victor Jr. spun around, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. "Show yourself." "I'm the ghost of Fortuna Island," Dr. Chen continued, her voice echoing dramatically. "The ghost of everyone your father destroyed, and now you'll pay for his crimes." This was Shaggy and Scooby's cue. They burst from their hiding spots, running and screaming in apparent terror straight toward Victor Jr. "Zoinks, the ghost! It's got us!" Shaggy wailed convincingly. "Relp! Relp!" Scooby added, running in circles. Victor Jr. tried to dodge them, but in his panic, he ran directly to the center of the trading floor, exactly where they needed him. Fred pulled the release lever, and the net dropped from the ceiling, tangling around Victor Jr. and pinning him to the ground. "Now, Daphne!" Fred shouted. Daphne hit the lights, flooding the room with brightness. Victor Jr. lay trapped, furious and helpless. "It's over, Victor," Velma said, walking calmly toward him with Dr. Chen at her side. "Dr. Chen has 30 years of evidence documenting your father's crimes. And now we have you on camera attempting to access stolen funds. You can't prove anything." Victor Jr. snarled. "That money is legally complicated. My lawyers will tie you up in courts for decades." "Actually," Dr. Chen smiled coldly, "that's where you're wrong. You see, I didn't just track the money. I tracked every conversation, every transaction, every lie your father told. And more importantly, I found your father." Victor Jr.'s face went white. "That's impossible. He's dead. He died years ago. Is that what you think?" Dr. Chen pulled out a tablet and showed him a recent photograph. A man who looked like an aged version of Victor Jr., living in luxury on a Caribbean island. "Your father is very much alive. He's been living under the name Richard Thornton in the Cayman Islands for the past 29 years. I've been tracking him, documenting everything, waiting for the right moment to bring him to justice." Victor Jr.'s expression shifted from shock to rage. "If you knew where he was, why didn't you turn him in? Why hide on this island all these years?" "Because I needed to build an airtight case," Dr. Chen explained. "Your father is smart, rich, and connected. A simple accusation wouldn't have been enough. I needed to trace every dollar, document every transaction, prove beyond any shadow of doubt that he orchestrated the largest Ponzi scheme in history at that time. And now, thanks to your greed and your attempt to access those funds, I have the final piece of evidence I need: proof that the Goldsworth family is still trying to profit from stolen money." Fred kept the net secure while pulling out his phone. "I'm calling the mainland police. They'll want to hear all about this." Victor Jr. struggled against the net. Wait, please. I can help you. I know things about my father's operation that even you don't know, Dr. Chen. I can give you bank account numbers, names of accomplices. In exchange for what?" Velma asked, her voice cool and analytical. "Immunity? A reduced sentence? That's called plea bargaining, and while it can be useful for prosecutors, it doesn't change what you've done. You came here to steal money that belongs to thousands of victims who lost everything." Daphne stepped forward, her usually kind face set with determination. "My parents are financial advisors. They've told me about cases like Fortuna Island. Do you know what happened to the people who lived here? Some of them lost their life savings, retirement funds, college funds for their children. Some people took their own lives because they lost everything, and you wanted to profit from that suffering." Victor Jr. looked at the floor, unable to meet their eyes. I didn't cause the original crime. That was all my father. I was just a kid when it happened. But you're not a kid now," Shaggy said, surprising everyone with his serious tone. "Like, you're a grown man who knew what your dad did and still tried to steal that money. That's not cool, man." That's like ... the opposite of what you should do. Ria, opposite. Scooby added firmly. The sound of boat engines approached the island. The mainland authorities were arriving, alerted by Fred's call. Dr. Chun looked at Victor Jr. with something almost like pity. Your father taught you the wrong lesson. He showed you that greed could make you rich, but he never taught you what wealth actually costs: your integrity, your peace of mind, your soul. Real wealth isn't about having money. It's about having enough, being content, and living with honor. As the police led Victor Jr. away in handcuffs, the gang gathered on the steps of Fortuna Financial Tower, watching the sun begin to rise over the abandoned island. So, what happens now? Daphne asked Dr. Chun. The elderly economist smiled for the first time, a genuine smile full of relief and satisfaction. Now, I turn over all my evidence to the authorities. They'll use it to freeze Victor Sr.'s accounts and begin the process of recovering the stolen funds. It won't be all of it. 30 years is a long time, and some money has been spent or lost, but we'll recover most of it. And the victims? Velma asked hopefully. They'll finally get restitution. It won't undo the damage, but it will help. Some of them can retire with dignity now. Others can pay off debts they've been carrying for decades. It's not perfect justice, but it's something. Fred stretched, exhausted, but satisfied. Well, gang, another mystery solved. And this time, we helped recover billions of dollars. Like, speaking of money, Shaggy said, are we gonna get a reward? Because we totally earned it. Dr. Chun chuckled. Actually, there is a standard reward for information leading to the recovery of stolen assets. Typically 10% of the recovered amount. In this case, that would be approximately $200 million. Shaggy's eyes went wide. 200 million. However, Dr. Chun continued, that money will be distributed among all the original victims, as they're the ones who truly deserve it. But I do have something for you. She handed Velma an envelope. This is a letter of recommendation from me to any university you choose. It explains your role in solving this case and your exceptional understanding of economics. It should help with scholarships. Velma's eyes filled with tears. Dr. Chun, this is... Thank you. This means more than money ever could. Knowledge and education, those are investments that compound over time and can never be taken away from you. Dr. Chun said warmly, that's a lesson worth more than gold. But as the gang began to relax, thinking the mystery was solved, Velma noticed something that made her blood run cold. On Dr. Chen's tablet, still displaying the photograph of Victor Goldsworth Sr., was a timestamp. Photo taken 72 hours ago. Location: Fortuna Island, North Shore. Dr. Chen, Velma said slowly, you said Victor Sr. was in the Cayman Islands. But this photo's metadata says it was taken on this island 3 days ago. Dr. Chun's face went pale. That's impossible. I must have made an error in the Vaya. Slow clap echoed across the trading floor. Everyone spun around to see a figure emerging from the shadows. An elderly man with silver hair and cold, calculating eyes. Bravo, Margaret, the man said. 30 years you've hunted me, and you didn't even realize I was here the whole time. Victor, Dr. Chun whispered, frozen in shock. Victor Goldsworth Sr. smiled, but it was a smile without warmth. Did you really think I'd abandon $2 billion? I've been living in the old island lighthouse, watching, waiting, and now that you've done all the hard work of documenting where my money is ... He pulled out a device that looked like a phone. I can simply transfer it all to new accounts before the authorities even know where to look. Dad? Victor Jr.'s voice came from outside, where the police were loading him into their boat. Dad, you let me take the fall while you stayed hidden. You coward. Victor Sr. shrugged. Sometimes, son, you have to cut your losses. That's business. Fred stepped forward. You won't get away with this. The police are right outside. By the time they realize what's happening, I'll be on my private submarine heading to international waters. I've had 30 years to plan my escape, young man. Did you think I'd leave anything to chance? But Victor had made one critical error. He'd underestimated Velma. While he'd been monologuing, Velma had been typing rapidly on Dr. Chun's tablet. Actually, Mr. Goldsworth, you've already lost. You see, while you were talking, I've been transferring your funds to a secured government account. Dr. Chen's system has access codes to all your hidden accounts. You just confirmed their locations by trying to access them. Victor's face twisted with rage. He lunged toward Velma, but Scooby was faster. With a heroic bark, Scooby leaped and tackled the elderly criminal, pinning him to the ground. "Scooby-Dooby-Doo!" Scooby exclaimed triumphantly. "That's my boy!" Shaggy cheered. The police, hearing the commotion, rushed back inside and arrested Victor Goldsworth Sr. As they led him away, he looked at Dr. Chun with something almost like respect. "You won, Margaret. After all these years, you actually won." "No, Victor," Dr. Chun replied quietly. "Everyone lost. The people of this island lost their savings. You lost your integrity and your freedom. Your son lost his future. There are no winners in schemes like yours, only different degrees of loss. That's the real economic lesson here." With both Goldsworths in custody, the gang and Dr. Chun returned to the hotel to pack up their equipment. The morning sun cast long shadows across Fortuna Island, making it look less ominous and more melancholy, a monument to broken dreams and hard lessons. "I still can't believe he was here the whole time," Daphne said, carefully packing her surveillance equipment. "Living in a lighthouse, watching everything. It makes sense from a criminal psychology standpoint," Velma explained, helping Dr. Chun organize financial documents. Victor Goldsworth couldn't truly leave his fortune behind. Greed isn't just about having money. It's about controlling it, watching it, obsessing over it. He was literally trapped by his own avarice. Dr. Chun nodded sadly. "I should have considered that possibility. I assumed he'd fled to comfort and luxury, but instead he chose to live in hiding just to stay close to his stolen wealth. That's the paradox of greed. The more you have, the more you're enslaved by it." Fred loaded the last of their trap equipment into the mystery machine. "Dr. Chun, what will you do now? Will you stay on the island?" "No." Dr. Chun looked out at the abandoned town. "My work here is done. I'll work with the authorities to ensure the victims receive their restitution, and then I think I'll teach. Share what I've learned about economics, ethics, and the real cost of financial crimes." Shaggy emerged from the hotel kitchen carrying several boxes of canned goods. "Like Dr. Chun said, we could take the non-perishable food since she's leaving. No sense letting it go to waste." "That's actually good thinking, Shaggy," Velma smiled. "Not wasting resources is an important economic principle. See? I'm totally getting this economics stuff." Shaggy grinned. "Like, maybe I should go to business school. Let's start with you making your snack budget last more than one day," Daphne teased affectionately. As they prepared to board the ferry back to the mainland, a news helicopter appeared overhead. Word of the case had spread quickly, and reporters were eager for the story. "Gang," Fred said, looking at his friends, "we should probably talk about media attention. This is going to be a big story, billions recovered, a 30-year-old mystery solved. We might even get famous." "Ooh," Velma groaned. "I hate being the center of attention. Can we just give all the credit to Dr. Chun? You know what?" Daphne pulled out her phone. "Actually, this could be a great opportunity for a different kind of reward. What if we use this publicity to create something educational?" "What do you mean?" Fred asked. Daphne's eyes lit up with excitement. "We could create a documentary or a series of educational videos about financial literacy. Use our story to teach people, especially young people, about the dangers of financial scams, the importance of diversification, how to spot Ponzi schemes, basic budgeting, ... all the things we learned investigating this mystery." Velma's face brightened. "Daphne, that's brilliant. We wouldn't make money directly, but we'd create something valuable that could help thousands of people avoid becoming victims. And we could include tips on how to have a good snack budget. Shaggy added enthusiastically. Ran emergency Scooby snack funds. Scooby contributed. Dr. Chen, overhearing their conversation, smiled warmly. You kids understand something that Victor Goldsworth never learned. The true wealth comes from what you contribute, not what you accumulate. You're going to change lives with that attitude. As the ferry pulled away from Fortuna Island, the gang stood at the rail, watching the forgotten island shrink in the distance. Dr. Chen stood with them, finally free of her 30-year burden. You know, Velma said thoughtfully, this whole mystery taught me something important about economics that I never fully understood before. It's not just about numbers and systems, it's about people. Every financial decision, every investment, every dollar saved or spent represents human hopes, dreams, and hard work. When someone like Victor Goldsworth steals that, they're not just taking money, they're stealing pieces of people's lives. That's very wise, Velma, Dr. Chen said. And it's why financial ethics matter so much. The economy isn't some abstract thing. It's the sum of all our interactions, our trust in each other, our mutual agreements to play fair. When that trust is broken, everyone suffers. Fred leaned against the rail, looking contemplative. I keep thinking about all those people who lost everything. Even with the restitution, they lost 30 years. You can't get that time back. No, you can't, Dr. Chen agreed. That's why the best financial strategy is always prevention. Don't fall for schemes that seem too good to be true. Diversify your investments. Live within your means. Build emergency funds. These are exciting strategies. They won't make you rich overnight, but they re the ones that actually work. Like wearing a seatbelt, Shaggy compared. It's not cool or exciting, but it keeps you safe, man. Exactly like that. Velma nodded approvingly. Suddenly, Scooby's ears perked up. Rook, he pointed back at the island. They all turned to see the golden glow one last time from Fortuna Financial Tower. But this time, they knew it was just Dr. Chen's projection equipment, not a real phantom. As they watched, the light flickered and died, shut down permanently. The phantom of Fortuna Island was gone forever. End of an era, Daphne said softly. No, Dr. Chen corrected gently. Beginning of a new one. Those funds will help rebuild lives. And you kids will help educate the next generation. Something good is coming from all this tragedy. As the ferry carried them toward the mainland, where police, reporters, and a new chapter awaited, the gang huddled together, already planning their educational project. We'll need to make it entertaining, Fred said. If it's too dry, people won't watch. We could include mysteries, Daphne suggested. Each episode could be a different financial scam we investigate and explain. With snack breaks, Shaggy added. 1 week later, the gang reconvened at Velma's house, which had been transformed into a makeshift production studio. Dr. Chen had connected them with educational content creators, and they were preparing to film the first episode of their financial literacy series, Mystery Inc. S Guide to Smart Money. Okay, gang, camera test, Fred said, fiddling with lighting equipment. Velma, whenever you're ready. Velma sat in front of the camera, no cards in hand, but looking confident. Hello, I'm Velma Dinkley, and welcome to our first episode about financial mysteries. Except these mysteries aren't fun to solve because people lose real money. Today, we're talking about Ponzi schemes. Behind the camera, Shaggy gave a thumbs up. You're a natural, Velma. They spent hours filming, with each gang member contributing their perspective. Fred explained the logical planning needed for financial security. Daphne discussed how to research investments before committing. Shaggy, surprisingly, gave an excellent segment on budgeting for daily expenses. If I can learn to make my snack money last, anyone can. And Scooby demonstrated the importance of emergency funds by showing his hidden stash of Scooby snacks for tough times. Dr. Chun appeared as their expert consultant, explaining the mechanics of Ponzi schemes with clarity and compassion. She never mentioned Victor Goldsworth by name in the educational content, focusing instead on the patterns and red flags that could help viewers protect themselves. During a break, Daphne checked her phone and gasped. "Guys, our trailer video already has 500,000 views. People are actually interested in this." "Of course they are," Velma said, munching on carrot sticks, practicing good budgeting herself. Financial education is something schools don't teach enough. People are desperate for this information, especially explained in an accessible way. "Yeah, but like 500,000 views?" Shaggy's eyes were wide. "That's a lot of people. That's a lot of real." Scooby agreed, equally amazed. Fred grinned. This could actually become something big. Not just a few videos. We could do seminars, write books, create curriculum for schools, double quotes. One step at a time, Fred. Daphne laughed. "Let's finish this first episode." As they resumed filming, there was a knock at the door. Velma's mother answered it and returned looking puzzled. "Velma, there's someone here to see you." She says it's important. A woman in her 30s entered professional, well-dressed, carrying a briefcase. "Hello, Mystery Inc. My name is Patricia Goldsworth. I'm Victor Goldsworth's daughter." The room went silent. Everyone tensed, unsure what to expect. Patricia raised her hands peacefully. "Please, I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here to help." She opened her briefcase and pulled out documents. "These are additional financial records my father kept, records that even Dr. Chun didn't know about. They show 7 more hidden accounts with a total of $300 million. I want to turn them over to the authorities so they can be added to the Victim Restitution Fund." Velma studied Patricia carefully. "Why? You could have kept this secret. That money would legally be part of your inheritance." Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "Because it's not my money? It never was. My father destroyed thousands of lives, including his own family's. My brother is in prison. My father will spend the rest of his life behind bars. And I've spent my whole life ashamed of my last name." She looked at each of them. "When I saw your video trailer, saw you teaching people how to avoid becoming victims like the Fortuna Island residents, I realized I had a choice. I could continue my family's legacy of greed, or I could try to make amends." Dr. Chun, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. "Patricia, I remember you. You were just a child when the crash happened. 9 years old." Patricia nodded. "I remember you too, Dr. Chun. You used to bring me cookies when you visited our house for business meetings. You were kind to me." She wiped her eyes. "I'm so sorry for what my father did. For what my family did. You're not responsible for your father's crimes," Dr. Chun said gently. "But what you're doing now, choosing integrity over inheritance, that's remarkable." Patricia handed the documents to Velma. "There's something else. That figure you saw watching you at the diner? That was my uncle, Robert Goldsworth. He's the one who helped me find these records. He wants to meet with you." "Why?" Fred asked suspiciously. "Because he has information about other financial scams still operating. Schemes similar to infinite returns they're stealing from people right now. He wants to help you expose them." Velma exchanged glances with her friends. This was bigger than they'd imagined. The Fortuna Island case wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. "We'll meet with him," Velma decided. "But we do it safely, in a public place, with authorities present." Patricia smiled with relief. "Of course. Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing." After Patricia left, the gang sat in stunned silence for a moment. Then Daphne started laughing, not from humor, but from the overwhelming realization of what they'd started. "We solved one mystery," she said, "and it's leading to dozens more. Like, that's what we do though, right?" Shaggy said, surprisingly philosophical. "We solve mysteries." And if these mysteries help people not lose their money, then that's pretty groovy. Rhea, ready Roovy, Scooby agreed. Velma stood up, energized. Then let's get back to work. We have an episode to finish, and apparently, a lot more mysteries to solve. Dr. Chen watched them with pride. When I was a young economist, I thought the most important thing was understanding markets, theories, and systems. But you've taught me something in this past week. The most important thing is having the courage to do what's right, even when it's difficult. You've been doing that for 30 years, Dr. Chen, Velma pointed out. We just followed your example. Then perhaps we've taught each other. Dr. Chen smiled. They resumed filming, but now with even greater purpose. The episode they were creating would be the first of many. They'd expose financial scams, teach money management, explain economic systems, and most importantly, help people understand that wealth isn't about having the most money. It's about having enough, sharing with others, and living with integrity. As the sun set and they wrapped up filming for the day, the gang gathered on Velma's porch, exhausted but satisfied. So, Fred said, tomorrow we meet with Robert Goldsworth and learn about these other scams. Then we have 3 more episodes to film. After that, Dr. Chen wants us to speak at an economics conference. And then we'll solve whatever mystery comes next, Daphne finished. Because that's what we do. As long as there are snack breaks, I'm in, Shaggy said. Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Scooby cheered, and they all laughed. Velma looked out at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. She thought about Fortuna Island, about Dr. Chen's 3 decades of patient justice, about the victims who could finally start to heal, about Patricia Goldsworth choosing integrity over inheritance. You know what the real treasure of Fortuna Island was? Velma said aloud. It wasn't the $2 billion. It was the lesson. Every single person affected by that tragedy learned something valuable about trust, greed, community, and resilience. Some learned it too late, but they learned. And now we get to help others learn those lessons without having to suffer first. That's deep, Velma, Shaggy said. Really deep. Rhea, really reap, Scooby nodded. But it's true, Fred agreed. We're not just solving mysteries anymore. We're preventing them and teaching people to solve their own financial mysteries, Daphne added. To question investments that seem too good to be true, to diversify their assets, to build emergency funds, to live within their means, to save some Scooby snacks for tomorrow, Scooby said wisely. They all laughed again, the sound carrying into the night. Dr. Chen, preparing to leave for hotel, paused at the porch steps. For 30 years I worked alone, in hiding, driven by anger and the need for justice. But you 5, you work together, support each other, and you're driven by something better than anger. You're driven by the desire to help others. That's going to take you much further than my anger ever took me. You weren't alone, Dr. Chen, Velma said softly. You had the memory of your community, the people you were fighting for. That's what kept you going. Perhaps you're right, Dr. Chen smiled. Well, good night, Mystery Inc. I'll see you tomorrow for our meeting with Robert Goldsworth. As Dr. Chen drove away, the gang remained on the porch, watching the stars and contemplating their unexpected journey from simple mystery solvers to financial education advocates. Hey guys, Shaggy said suddenly. I've been thinking. What if I started a YouTube channel about budget cooking? How to make awesome food without spending all your money? I could call it Shaggy's Saving Suppers or something. The gang stared at him in surprise. Shaggy, Velma said slowly. That's actually a brilliant idea. Rand, I could rope. Scooby added enthusiastically. Scooby Saving Snacks. You guys could teach people about meal planning, shopping smart, avoiding food waste, Daphne said, getting excited. That's practical financial literacy that everyone needs. And it fits perfectly with our educational mission, Fred agreed. Shaggy beamed. See? I told you, I was getting this economic stuff. As they continued brainstorming, making plans, and dreaming about the positive impact they could have, none of them noticed the figure watching from across the street, the same figure Velma had seen at the diner. Robert Goldsworth stood in the shadows, a slight smile on his weathered face. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "Yes, it's me. I found them, the kids who solved Fortuna Island. They're exactly what we need for Operation Clean Sweep. Tomorrow, I'll tell them everything about the network." He paused, listening. "No, I'm not worried about them being too young. Age doesn't determine integrity. These kids have more honor in their little fingers than most adults I know. They're going to help us take down every corrupt financial scheme still operating. The age of unchecked financial predators is ending, and Mystery Inc. is going to help us end it." He hung up, took one last look at the gang laughing and planning on the porch, and disappeared into the night. Inside Velma's house, Velma herself was making a discovery. While reviewing footage they'd filmed, she noticed something in the background of one shot, a reflection in a window. A face, Robert Goldsworth's face, watching them film. "How long has he been watching us?" she wondered aloud. "Rat?" Scooby asked, coming to look. Velma showed him the screen. "Scooby, I think tomorrow's meeting is going to be even more interesting than we thought. Robert Goldsworth isn't just some remorseful family member. He's planning something bigger." "Reese Ratrad?" Scooby asked worriedly. Velma smiled. "No, Scooby, I don't think it's bad. I think it's the opposite. I think we're about to become part of something that's going to change a lot of people's lives for the better." "Ruby Ruby Roo?" "Yes, Scooby. Scooby-Dooby-Doo indeed." And as the night deepened over the small town, Mystery Inc. stood at the threshold of their greatest adventure, yet not just solving mysteries, but preventing them, teaching others, and building a legacy that would help protect people from financial predators for generations to come. The Phantom of Fortuna Island had been unmasked. The real treasure had been discovered. And the lessons learned on that forgotten island would ripple outward, changing lives, protecting families, and proving that the greatest wealth of all is the ability to help others. The mystery was solved, but the mission had just begun.